we've got something kind of fun. Everybody thinks of coatings, and the latest rave is getting, you know, all the cars coated, and it's a lot of fun, but we're going to take and do something a little different. We've got one of our clients that is a Marine, and he's a Vietnam vet, and he was injured in Vietnam pretty terribly. He's a recipient of the Purple Heart, and we wanted to do something special for him as he puts these Marine emblems on his truck, and he displays them, but you can see they're really nice and glossy. Problem is that just a few months after he puts them on, that they're pretty tarnished and beat up, and he's a proud Marine, so he wants them to be looking good. So we decided that we're going to do a little test, and we're going to coat them and see if that coating will actually protect them from damage. So naturally, the first thing, I've got some towels back here. I've got we're going to go ahead and use G-Technic Crystal Serum on this coating for this application. We've got the Crystal Serum applicator pad. This is a really nice applicator sponge. It's a nice soft suede finish to it. It's just big enough if you've got really big fingers, 2 or 3 fingers can fit in there. Very even, very easy to control. So we're going to go ahead and use that. And the first thing we're going to do, I've got some rubbing alcohol, so IPA, and we're going to IPA it. I'm going to go ahead and spray it away from the surface because I don't want this to affect it. And I'm going to go ahead and clean the backside too, just in case my fingers come in contact. We've got that broken down to about 20%, and it's 70% IPA, and that's probably my favorite. You can go a little weaker if you're working on paint. You can take and probably bring that down to 12 to 15% is going to be fine. A lot of people you don't need to use it full strength. Matter of fact, a lot of times it will just soften the paint up. So I'm not too sure on how robust this surface is, so I went ahead and went with a nice mild IPA. So I've got that all cleaned up. I'm going to touch it as little as I can. I've got really clean gloves on, and like every single time I talk to you guys, if it's on you, it's in you. So we don't want to coat even alcohol. I just don't want a lot of chemicals on my skin. So I'm going to let this sit for just a second, and I'm going to go ahead and rub it off and clean it gently, not to catch any of the edges. You can see some of these edges are pretty sharp, and on this upper corner you can already see this one's starting to tarnish a little bit. That one's not as bad, but let's see if it slows it down or stops it completely. And we'll definitely do a follow-up video on this one. So okay, so we've got it all cleaned up, and I'm going to I do the same thing with any surface when I'm working on a car, whether it be the paint or the plastic. Anytime I IPA something, I'm going to go ahead and let it outgas. What I mean is I'm going to take it, if you imagine holding your mouth up to a piece of glass and breathing on it, you get the moisture on that. And a lot of products will outgas. So I'm just going to let it sit there and outgas for a few minutes and let everything come to the surface, let it dry. It's a nice warm day in the 80s today, so should outgas by now. It's already done. The next thing I want to make sure I'm going to use a 2-towel system for making sure that I've got the coating A, applied, B, rubbed off, and then absolutely cleaned off. So I'm going to have my wet towel and then a dry towel. I'm going to go ahead and get my crystal serum. I'm going to go ahead and suck some up into and distribute across the pad. I'm going to put a little more on this one just because there's so many nooks and crannies on this. I'm going to use a lot more coating than I really need. And I just figured this would kind of be fun to put out there because it's not your average coating application. All too many times we see all this on cars, but what about car components? I'm going to go ahead and start with the brand new one. And again, I'm going to touch it as little as I can. So I'm going to bring it up into my hand, and I'm going to gently, I can see you can see on my gloves, and I'm going to work the coating down into all the tight areas. And this might be an application where having a little tiny art-based airbrush and actually spraying it on might be a good application too. But we're gonna rub it in. I'm going to make sure I'm going to get all around the back edges on it. And then what I'm going to do is just let it kind of penetrate through and sit here and really cure out. Mainly what I'm after is this front, just to make sure it doesn't tarnish. So coat through. I don't want to wipe it too much. You can see it's really wet. And I'm just going to let that sit for just a couple seconds while I do the other one and kind of dwell for a little bit. I'm going to put a lot more product on because it did exactly my fears as it went down into all the tight crevices and so forth. And it absorbed a lot of the product that I had on the applicator. So again, I'm going to come through on the wings, a lot of details, and really kind of push it down around the rope around the anchor on the globe and the famous eagle. And I'm going to get back on the back side just a little bit, make sure I got that all up through here. Really push it down in there. So it's on. I don't want to leave any bubbles. If there's any bubbles, go ahead and make sure to pull that off. And again, I'm going to go ahead and set that there. And then now, I'm going to go ahead and pick up that first one. You can see it's kind of, it's what I call sweating. It's getting a little uneven. So I'm going to come through, and that just cleans it right up. And I'm going to take my first cloth and really just rub over it. And I'm careful not to take it all off, but at this time, with it sitting there for a little while, it's had time to penetrate through and get in there and attach itself. And then what I'll do from there, I'm going to keep these towels separate, take my clean towel and go right back over it again. And what I'm doing here is just making sure that any of the smudges or high spots that are on the surface are taken off. So again, this is something that's valuable to them. You can only get these a couple times a year. So this guy's a great guy, and he gets perturbed because they just don't keep their luster. So you decided to help him out a little bit and see if a coating will really make a difference. So now I'm going to go back over again gently. I'm going to take it without trying to disturb it too much. You can see, Ray, if you can bring in, I don't know if you can get in close enough, you can see the sweat marks where it's kind of beating up. Let me know when you see, if you can see that. Okay. So it might be just a little. So now what I'm going to do is just come through there, and you can see it just comes right off, that sweat marks come right off the surface. And I'm just going to take my first blending towel and just kind of go over it all, get the back side. And again, being gentle enough not to remove it all, but I do want to clean it up. Okay, so now I've got that. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my clean towel over it. And you know what? This is probably, you're not going to do this all too often, but I really wanted to show it. If you do have an accessory on a car, emblem, a lot of military guys that like to put these on their vehicles. There's a lot of other things. Badges, you know, they're famous for European imports. A lot of people put the badges on the front grille and so forth, displaying the make, model, or rallies they've gone to. If they're a very sentimental item, or maybe some of them can get pretty expensive, coating them might be a smart way to just add a little bit of protection to it. So I'm just going to go through. I'm going to go ahead now and open my towel up just a little bit. Just kind of get down through those tight areas. And I'm going to come right back over and just give it a good look over. Shine her up. We're going to set her out, let her cure a little bit near the doors, not directly in the sun, but where all the UVs can get to them, and cure them out a little bit. And here in a couple months, we'll come back and show you and see if the G-Technic Crystal Serum did its job on these nice little accessories. So everybody, thanks for watching. I'm Rennie with Auto Detailing TV. Happy detailing all. We'll see you soon.